In the remote village of Ravenbrook, hidden deep within a thicket of ancient woods, lived a man named John. He led an unremarkable life until a fateful incident forever altered his reality. The course of John's days took a harrowing turn when he stumbled upon an abandoned mansion concealed amidst the gnarled trees. The grand estate, known as the Hawthorn Manor, bore a history steeped in enigma and tragedy. Its walls whispered tales of a family that once inhabited its opulent chambers, a family rumored to have practiced forbidden rites and sorcery. Upon crossing the threshold of the mansion's worn front door, John was met with a chilling gust that seemed to seep into his very bones. From that moment on, strange and unsettling events began to plague John's life. Nocturnal terrors would awaken him in a cold sweat, his heart racing, haunted by fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures lurking at the edges of his vision. He dismissed these episodes as mere nightmares initially, until the veil between reality and illusion began to thin. Objects would move inexplicably, doors would slam shut of their own volition, and faint whispers would echo through the air. As days melted into nights, John's grasp on reality grew increasingly fragile. Whispers, once faint and distant, evolved into insidious murmurs that clawed at the corners of his mind. Doubt and dread seeped into his thoughts, and he found it increasingly difficult to distinguish between the waking world and the realm of nightmares. John's relationships began to wither as paranoia took root. Faces contorted into grotesque masks, and even familiar voices seemed to carry an otherworldly quality. Isolation became his refuge, his mind his only sanctuary. Yet even within the sanctuary of his own thoughts, he couldn't escape the relentless advance of the mansion's influence. Determined to unearth the mansion's secrets, John embarked on a journey through the annals of history. What he discovered was a tapestry of tragedy, a lineage plagued by madness, and a curse that spanned generations. The more he learned, the more entwined he felt with the ghosts of the Hawthorn family, as if their anguish was seeping into his very soul. One fateful night, John found himself within the Hawthorn Manor, navigating its labyrinthine corridors in a fevered dream. The walls pulsed with an otherworldly energy, and the hushed whispers crescendoed into a cacophony of voices echoing through his being. At the end of a shadow-drenched hallway, he encountered a door that seemed to beckon him forward. Compelled by a potent mix of trepidation and fascination, he opened it. What lay beyond the door was a chamber of impenetrable darkness. In its center stood an ornate mirror, its surface a portal into the abyss. As John gazed into it, his reflection began to shift and contort, morphing into the visages of the long-deceased Hawthorn ancestors. Their eyes bore into his, accusing him of encroaching upon their accursed domain. With a start, John awoke in his own bed, drenched in sweat and quivering. He knew then that he must confront the mansion, to sever the tendrils of its influence that had wound their way into his very being. Armed with resolve, he returned to the Hawthorn Manor, prepared to confront his inner demons and break free from their vice-like grip. Within the mansion's walls, John confronted a maelstrom of visions, voices, and memories. The boundary between his psyche and the mansion's malevolence dissolved, leaving him immersed in a phantasmagoria of terror. He relived the pain and torment endured by the Hawthorn family, their agony intertwining with his own until he could no longer distinguish between them. As the clock struck midnight, an eerie calm settled over the Hawthorn Manor. John collapsed to the floor, drained and broken. In that moment of surrender, he understood that the source of the psychological tension was not solely the mansion. It was the darkness within himself. He had become a vessel for the mansion's horrors, a conduit for their torment. The next morning, John emerged from the Hawthorn Manor, forever changed. The mansion stood silent, its malevolent power finally quelled. While scars, both physical and emotional, remained, John had triumphed over the abyss that threatened to consume him. To this day, whispers of John's ordeal linger in Ravenbrook. Some claim he banished the mansion's malevolence, while others speculate that he merely exchanged his torment for that of the Hawthorn family, eternally imprisoned within their tragic history. Regardless of the details, one truth endures. The psychological tension that gripped John's life serves as a chilling reminder that the boundary between reality and horror is a fragile thread, easily frayed in the recesses of the human psyche.